She was standing in front of the man she loved, while his father watched them like she didn't belong there. She fell for him when he had nothing, and she never cared about what he didn't have, until she realized who his father was and what that meant for her. Before we begin, beautiful shout-outs to some of our amazing viewers. Judy Blair from Massachusetts, Marcella Thomas from Virginia, Doris Brown from South Carolina, and Lillian Carter from Maryland. We love your engagements at the comments section, so keep it up. Now, let's dive in. Camille had a system. Most successful single women do. Monday through Friday, she ran her event planning business out of a 2-room office in Midtown Atlanta. Weekends, she allowed herself exactly one indulgence. Saturday morning, coffee on her building's rooftop, alone, before the city woke up and started wanting things from her. She was 32, and she had built everything she had from the ground up. Weston Carr moved into the apartment directly below hers on a Tuesday in October. She heard him before she saw him. The sound of something heavy being dragged, followed by a crash, followed by a long silence that felt very much like a man deciding whether to be embarrassed. She found him in the hallway with a lopsided bookshelf and an expression of such genuine defeat that she almost laughed. "You need help," she said. It wasn't a question. "I'm fine," he said, in the voice of a man who was absolutely not fine. She helped him anyway. 45 minutes later, the bookshelf was upright. They were sitting on his bare floor, eating takeout she'd ordered on her phone, and she still didn't know his last name. That was how it started. Not with candlelight nor grand gestures. With a tilted bookshelf and a man who didn't know how to ask for help. By January, Camille had stopped pretending she didn't look forward to seeing him. Weston had taken a job at an architectural firm downtown drafting, he said, entry level. He drove a car that was 7 years old. He cooked on Sundays and left food outside her door without knocking. He remembered things she said in passing. A restaurant she'd mentioned once, a book she'd almost finished, the name of the song playing the first time they danced in her kitchen. He was attentive in the specific, quiet way that costs a person nothing and means everything. She told her best friend, Renee, over dinner one night, that she thought she might be in trouble. Trouble good or trouble bad? Renee asked. I don't know yet, Camille said. That's the trouble. What she didn't tell Renee, what she barely admitted to herself, was that she had already decided that somewhere between the bookshelf and the Sunday food at her door, and the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, she had made up her mind. She loved him. She loved a man she knew almost nothing about, and that, as it turned out, was precisely the problem. His full name was Weston Douglas Carr III. His father was Douglas Carr, founder, chairman, and sole authority of Carr Global Holdings, a private equity empire worth $11 billion. Weston had grown up in boardrooms and private schools and penthouse apartments in 4 different cities. He had been groomed since childhood to inherit all of it. 3 years ago, he had walked away. Not impulsively. He had gone through his father's financials, looking for the source of something that had been wrong for a long time. What he found was worse than he expected. Shell companies, falsified asset reports, investors who had trusted Douglas Carr with their savings and received nothing but beautifully worded lies in return. Weston had gone to his father with what he'd found. Douglas had looked at him across a mahogany desk and said, with complete calm, "You're not going to do anything with that. Because you understand how this works. You're either part of this family or you're not." Weston had chosen not. He had left with a single bag, changed cities, changed jobs, changed everything he could change. He had not told anyone who he was. Not his colleagues. Not his neighbors. Not Camille. He told himself it was because it didn't matter anymore. Because he was done with that life. But the truth the one he couldn't quite say out loud, was that for the first time since leaving, he had something worth protecting. And he was afraid that the moment Camille knew, she would stop seeing him and start seeing his name. He should have told her. He knew that. He just didn't know it would cost her the way it did. It was a Wednesday. Camille left her office late, parked in the building garage, and was halfway to the elevator when two men stepped from the shadows with the practiced efficiency of people who had done this before. No shouting, no drama. Just a hand on her arm, a quiet instruction, and darkness. White walls, a window with frosted glass, a chair, a table, a bottle of water. The kind of room that said, "We are not monsters, we are simply making a point." Douglas Carr entered 12 minutes later. He was 61 years old, silver-haired, and dressed like a man who had never once been told no. He sat across from her with his hands folded and the expression of someone conducting a routine meeting. "Mrs. Ware," he said. "I apologize for the abruptness. I need your help with something." "Where am I?" Camille said. Her voice was steady. She had decided, in the car, that she would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. "Somewhere safe," he said. "I need my son to come home. You're the reason he won't. So you are, in a sense, the solution." The silence that followed was the loudest thing Camille had ever heard. "Your son," she said slowly. "Weston," Douglas said. "My heir. You've been keeping him very occupied." She thought about the man who left food at her door without knocking. The man with the 7-year-old car and the entry-level drafting job. The man she had decided, quietly and completely, to love. "You're lying," she said. "I rarely bother," Douglas said, and placed a tablet on the table between them. Forbes magazine. Current issue. Weston's face clean-shaven, sharp-suited, younger. Beneath the headline, Carr Global. The heir apparent and the empire he left behind. Camille looked at the photograph for a long time. Then she looked up. "What do you want?" "I want Weston to come back and take his place," Douglas said. "I want him to sign the succession documents and step into the role he was born for. In exchange, you go home. No harm done. Just a conversation between family. And if he says no?" Douglas smiled the way old, dangerous men smile. Not with warmth, but with patience. "He won't," he said. "Not when I have you." Weston got the call at 11:47 p.m. His father's voice. Calm. Precise. The address of a property in the suburbs. The instruction to come alone. Weston sat in the dark of his apartment for 4 minutes. Then he stood up, took his jacket from the hook by the door, and walked out. He did not call anyone. He did not make a plan. There was no plan that mattered, except the one that ended with Camille walking out of that building. He arrived at 12:30 a.m. His father met him at the door. "I knew you'd come," Douglas said. "Where is she?" "She's fine. She'll stay fine. All you have to do is—" "Where is she?" Douglas handed him the documents. Weston looked at them. Succession agreement. His signature on the dotted line meant the empire continued under his name, with his father still pulling the strings. He looked at the pen. He looked at his father. He thought about a tilted bookshelf and 45 minutes on a bare floor and food left at a door without a knock. He signed. Camille was released 20 minutes later. Weston was standing outside on the curb when the door opened, and she walked out into the cold air. She saw him immediately. She stopped. The space between them was 12 feet and 3 years of secrets, and one magazine cover, and the full weight of something that could not be unsaid. "For how long do you intend to lie to me?" she asked. Her voice was even. That frightened him more than anything else could have. "I didn't. It happened a long time ago, since before I met you," he said. "I walked away from it. I wasn't hiding from you. I was. You were what? She said. Quiet. Precise. You were protecting yourself. You were protecting your peace. And while you were busy protecting yourself, I was walking through a garage and being kidnapped by men in suits because of who you are. She paused. You should have told me I was a risk you were carrying, Weston. I deserved to choose. He had no answer for that. Because she was right. She walked past him, got into the car that Renee had sent, drove away without looking back. Weston stood on the curb in the cold and watched the taillights disappear. Then he turned around, walked back inside, and started making different plans. From the outside, it looked like a homecoming. Weston Carr returned to Carr Global Holdings. He attended board meetings. He wore the suits. He sat in the office with his name on the door and shook hands with the people his father needed him to impress. From the inside, it was something else entirely. Every document that crossed his desk, he photographed. Every shell company his father mentioned in passing, he traced. Every meeting he was excluded from, he found ways to reconstruct afterward. Through paper trails, through the slow and methodical patience of a man who had made one catastrophic mistake and was not going to make another. He had a single photograph on his desk. Camille from a night 6 months before everything fell apart. She was laughing at something off camera. He had taken it on his phone without thinking, the way you photograph something you want to keep. He kept it face down most days. He couldn't afford to be soft. Not yet. 8 months later. The hearing lasted 4 days at the federal court. Weston testified for 6 hours across 2 of them. He was calm, thorough, and devastating. He had given the federal prosecutors everything. Every falsified report, every defrauded investor, every shell company, and every lie that had funded the empire he'd grown up inside. Douglas Carr was arrested on the 3rd day of the hearing. He was led out of the building in handcuffs, silver-haired and silent, past a wall of cameras. He did not look at his son. Weston walked out of the courthouse alone. Down the steps. Onto the wide, empty sidewalk. The sky was the particular gray of a city afternoon, and the street was full of people going places that had nothing to do with him. He had no company, no family, no apartment. He'd moved out of his father's property 6 weeks before the trial. His own accounts were frozen pending the investigation. His name was in every financial news cycle in the country, half calling him a hero, half calling him a traitor, all of them using his face without asking. He had one carry-on bag in a hotel room 2 blocks away, and he had Camille's address in London, which Renee had given him. Reluctantly, with a warning 3 days ago. On a Saturday morning in June, he found her. Camille had rebuilt quietly, the way she did everything. She'd relocated 6 months after Atlanta, taken on a contract with a London events firm, and found a flat in Bermondsey with high ceilings and a market 2 streets over that she visited every Saturday morning. She had not dated anyone. She had not talked about Weston, except once to Renee, in the particular tone of someone who has made a decision and does not want it examined. She was carrying 2 bags of market groceries when she turned the corner toward her building and stopped. He was standing outside her door in a jacket she recognized. The same beat-up jacket from the hallway 3 years ago. A single bag at his feet. His hair slightly longer than she remembered. His face doing the thing it always did when he was trying to hold himself together. Very still, eyes doing all the work. She stood there for a long moment. How did you get my address? Renee, he said. She made me promise not to be an idiot. And I'm trying very hard. He paused. Can I just say something? I'll say it, and then if you want me to leave, I'll leave. I won't call. I won't show up again. I just need to say it once. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no. She set her grocery bags down on the step and waited. "I don't have a home anymore," he said. "My father is facing trial. My accounts are frozen. I testified against my own family, and half the financial world thinks I burned down something I should have protected, and the other half thinks I'm a saint, and I'm neither. I'm just a man who did one thing right and one thing very wrong, and I've been carrying the wrong one every single day since you got in that car." He exhaled. "I didn't tell you because I was afraid that if you knew who I was, you'd stop seeing me. And then I met you, and I wanted to tell you, and I kept waiting for the right moment, and the right moment never came, and then it was too late, and I—" He stopped. "I'm not going to justify it. There's no version of it that was fair to you. You're the only thing I did right in 3 years, and I didn't even do that right." Camille looked at him for a long time. The street was quiet. Somewhere down the block, a market vendor was calling out prices. A pigeon landed near his bag and regarded him with complete indifference. "You flew commercial," she said finally. He blinked. "I know because Renee told me you called her from a middle seat," she said. "Next to a man eating crisps. Salt and vinegar," he said. "For 4 hours." Something shifted in her face. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Something earlier than that. The first crack in a wall she had built with very good reasons. "I'm not forgiving the lie," she said. "I want you to understand that. What your father did to me. What you allowed to happen by not telling me the truth. I don't have words for how that felt. Being used as a bargaining chip by a man I'd never met because of secrets the man I loved was carrying. That is not a small thing, Weston." "I know," he said. "I'm not done being angry about it. I know that too." The silence between them was different from the one in the parking lot. That one had been cold. This one was something else. Something that had not yet decided what it was. Camille picked up her grocery bags. "You can come in," she said. "For coffee. That's all I'm offering right now. Coffee and an honest conversation. That's everything," he said. She looked at him over her shoulder as she unlocked her door. "Don't make me regret it." "I'm going to spend a very long time making sure you don't," he said. She opened the door. He picked up his bag and walked in. She never said she forgave him. Not in those words. What she said on a Sunday morning in her Bermondsey flat, 6 months later, while he was burning toast, and she was reading the paper, and the light was coming through the kitchen window. The way it only does in London, when London is trying to be lovely. What she said was, "You are significantly worse at cooking than you pretended to be." "I never pretended," he said. "You just assumed." "That," she said, pointing her pen at him, "is exactly the kind of answer that is going to get you in trouble." "I've been in trouble since October," he said. "I've decided I like it there." She looked at him for a moment. This man who had been a billionaire's heir and a nobody and a federal witness, and the person she had chosen, in full knowledge of everything, to let back through her door. She went back to her paper. "Don't burn the next one," she said. "No promises," he said. "I love you, Camille," Weston said suddenly. "I love you very much," she responded, sitting across from him in the ordinary morning light, and decided, without ceremony, that this was enough. More than enough. This was everything.